You come home after a long day. You're tired, you're ready to relax, and the first thing you see when you open the door is the aftermath. A cushion torn apart across the living room floor. Your favorite shoes, the expensive ones, chewed beyond recognition. A houseplant knocked over and scattered. And in the middle of it all, your dog, looking at you with those eyes. And your first instinct, the one almost every owner has, is that they did it on purpose, that they knew, that this was deliberate. But here's what I want you to consider before we go any further. What if everything you thought you knew about why your dog destroys things is wrong? What if the story you've been telling yourself, that they're badly behaved, that they're stubborn, that they're doing it out of spite, is missing the real explanation entirely? Because the truth of why dogs destroy things when left alone is rooted in something far more complex, far more emotional, and honestly, far more heartbreaking than bad behavior. And once you understand it, you will never come home to a destroyed house and feel the same way again. Let's start with what most people believe and why it's incomplete. The most common explanation owners reach for is boredom. My dog is bored, so they chew things. And boredom is real. It absolutely plays a role for some dogs in some situations. But boredom alone doesn't explain the full picture. A bored dog might chew a toy, or sleep, or stare out the window. Boredom doesn't typically produce the kind of frantic, scattered, wide-ranging destruction that so many owners come home to. It doesn't explain why the chewing is often focused on specific objects. It doesn't explain why it happens within the first hour of your absence almost every time. And it certainly doesn't explain why some of the most well-exercised, well-stimulated dogs in the world still destroy things the moment their owner leaves. Boredom is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the heart of it. The heart of it is anxiety, specifically separation anxiety, and the deeply misunderstood ways it expresses itself. Separation anxiety is not a personality flaw. It's not a training failure. It's not your dog being dramatic or manipulative. It is a genuine emotional and physiological stress response that occurs when a dog who is deeply bonded to their owner is suddenly separated from them. And it is far more common than most people realize. Studies suggest that somewhere between 17 and 29% of dogs experience it to a significant degree. Here's what's actually happening inside your dog when you leave. Within the first few minutes of your departure, stress hormones, primarily cortisol, spike sharply. The part of the brain that processes fear and threat becomes highly activated. Your dog's heart rate increases, their breathing changes. Some dogs begin to pace, whine, or bark. Others go very still in a kind of frozen anxiety. And then, for many dogs, something shifts. The emotional pressure building inside them needs somewhere to go. It needs an outlet. And that outlet is physical. It's movement, it's action. It's using the body to try to release what the mind cannot contain. Destruction isn't random. It's release. Now, here's the part that changes how you see those chewed shoes forever. When researchers have studied what dogs choose to destroy during owner absence, a pattern emerges that is difficult to explain as simple boredom or mischief. Dogs disproportionately target objects that carry their owner's scent most strongly. Worn clothing, used shoes, pillows from the owner's side of the bed, personal items that have been handled frequently. Think about what that means. Your dog isn't destroying your belongings because they're being defiant. They're going to the things that smell most like you, the most comforting, most familiar scent in their entire world, and they're interacting with them intensely. The chewing releases a small amount of calming neurochemistry in the brain. It's self-soothing. It's a coping mechanism. It's your dog doing the only thing they can think of to manage an emotional state that is genuinely overwhelming them. They're not trying to punish you. They're trying to find you in the only way available to them. This is also why the timing matters so much. If you've ever set up a camera and watched the footage back, you've probably noticed that the destruction almost always happens within the first 30 to 60 minutes of your absence, not hours into it. This is because that opening window is when the stress response is at its absolute peak. Once a dog moves through that acute anxiety phase, many of them settle into a lower level of distress. Still uncomfortable, still not okay, but no longer at the frantic height of those first minutes. The destruction is an expression of the peak. It's the moment when the emotional pressure exceeds the dog's ability to simply endure it. This is also why coming home and scolding your dog is not only ineffective, it's actively counterproductive. By the time you arrive, that peak has long passed. Your dog has no ability to connect your anger in this moment to something that happened hours ago. All they experience is, I was already stressed, I waited for you, and now you're here and you're frightening. It doesn't reduce the behavior. It adds another layer of anxiety to an already anxious dog. So what actually helps? The first thing, and this sounds simple, but it's genuinely important, is to stop treating departures and arrivals as emotionally loaded events. Long, drawn-out goodbyes where you tell your dog you'll miss them, where you hold their face and make eye contact and speak in a worried voice, that communicates anxiety. You are essentially signaling to your dog that leaving is a big deal, something to be concerned about. Brief, calm, matter-of-fact departures start to rewire the emotional association your dog has with you leaving. The same goes for arrivals. Coming home to frantic excitement and matching it with your own high energy prolongs the emotional spike. Calm returns. Greeting your dog warmly but without escalating the intensity. Help them settle faster. Second, that first 30 to 60-minute window is everything. This is where targeted intervention makes the most difference. A puzzle feeder filled with something genuinely high value, given only when you leave, creates a positive association with your departure and occupies the brain during the highest risk window. A long-lasting chew, a bully stick, a frozen Kong, something that takes real time and focus, does the same thing. You're giving the anxiety somewhere productive to go. Third, for dogs with genuine separation anxiety, graduated departure training, where you practice leaving for very short periods and slowly build duration over weeks, actually retrains the emotional response at a neurological level. It's not fast. It requires patience and consistency. But it works, because it builds the emotional memory of, they leave, and they always come back. Short departures, repeated often, build that trust in a way that nothing else can replicate. And fourth, exercise before you leave genuinely matters. Not to tire them out in a simplistic way, but because physical activity metabolizes stress hormones. A dog who has had a real walk, a sniff-heavy, exploratory walk where their brain was engaged, not just a quick loop around the block, has a lower cortisol baseline going into your absence. The starting point of their stress response is lower, which means the peak is lower too. But underneath all of these practical things, there's something more fundamental worth saying. A dog who destroys things when you leave is not a bad dog. They are a dog who loves you so much that your absence destabilizes them. They are a dog whose bond with you is so strong that being without you triggers their most primal stress response. The destruction is not evidence of a broken dog. It is evidence of an attachment so deep that separation from you is genuinely painful. That doesn't mean you accept the behavior or do nothing about it. It means you approach it with the understanding it deserves. Not with punishment and frustration, but with patience, consistency, and the recognition that what your dog is communicating through every chewed cushion and shredded shoe is something actually quite profound. They need you. They miss you. And in the only language they have, that's exactly what they're saying. So the next time you come home to a mess, take a breath before you react. Look at your dog. And remember that what you're looking at isn't destruction, it's devotion. In its most honest, most desperate, most misunderstood form.